Now, Nemban Hospital, the Gambia's only COVID-19 admission center, is almost full to capacity and treating patients in serious condition as the COVID-19 third wave hits the country. We visited the hospital on Monday, revealed how doctors and nurses are working tirelessly trying to save the lives of more than 60 patients. Babukasi has the rest of that story.
Staff in this hospital are working round the clock to save lives, but from what we observe, they will need more capacity and resources, or perhaps another hospital to support them in admitting COVID-19 patients. Case numbers are increasing rapidly, and according to doctors we found here, this might be due to the recently celebrated Tobaski. The hospital management gave us rare access to the wards where patients are admitted, just prove to us how bad the situation has become. Believe it or not, this is the current situation with our COVID-19 patients in the country. We are at the only referral center in Ndemban clinic where we have all the beds occupied with patients living with severe conditions of a coronavirus pandemic. According to the doctors we spoke to here, they have run out of oxygen cylinder. And we've seen dozens of gas bottles outside already being used, and more patients are coming in daily, because of the coronavirus pandemic, and of course in very severe conditions. A lot of oxygen cylinders are empty, and some patients are using more than 2 cylinders at a time to support them to breathe properly. The hospital's only oxygen operator, who we met, told me that he has been around for the past 3 days changing bottles non-stop and has not been able to go home, nor has he been able to take shower. After a round of the wards where we saw more than 60 patients admitted, with most of them in critical condition, we had a one-on-one with Dr. Yafatu B.M. Job, who has been here with the COVID-19 patients from the inception. According to her, the surge in cases they are experiencing right now is beyond anyone's imagination.
For the past few weeks, it has been quite tedious, very, very hectic to work with these patients. We've had patients that have coming in to full capacity, patients, most of whom need oxygen therapy, as you've seen, most of whom are critically ill patients that need a lot of attention to be given to them. We have a lot of patients currently, as I speak to you, that are COVID positive and need admission and are in the community. Some are in health centers, some are in other hospitals in the community, because this place is full to capacity. You've seen that there are a lot of patients that are very critical. They are between life and death. And this is something that we foresee that in the next few weeks, we hope it will be worse, because we just came from the festive season. Tried our best in the past few weeks to save as much life as possible, but then the inevitable happens most of the time. We've lost a lot of patients in the past few weeks as well.
Dr. Job has a message for the public on the rapid surge of cases in the country.
We're here 24 hours, both nurses and doctors, working round the clock, making sure that everybody gets what they need. Some will tell you, I haven't seen anyone that has the virus, but the virus does exist. It's just like you have malaria. The only thing you do is the nurse or the lab person will tell you that you have malaria, but you don't actually see the malaria parasite. So the way you believe that you have malaria and malaria exists, this is how one should believe that COVID actually does exist. And we should take our precautions right. We should stay away from gatherings, wear our mask, wash our hands, make sure that we stay at home as much as necessary, and only go out when it is very, very necessary, like going to work. And when you're going out in the public, please be on mask.
Dr. Yafatu Job have confirmed to us that the Ndemban Hospital used to admit patients with symptoms and asymptomatic patients. But as the number of cases continue to grow rapidly, they have no choice other than to release the asymptomatic patients and allow those in critical condition to be admitted. Babu Karsi, QTV News.
Now, the police on Monday commenced the much-anticipated and widely publicized Operation Clear the Streets. The exercise is aimed at removing vehicles and stalls parked or erected on our roads. The operation, which began in the West Coast region, is expected to be implemented nationwide. And Sumani Esonyasi tells us more.
About exercise now in progress, officials hope the inclusion of an undisclosed fine, among others, will help deter any offenders or would-be offenders from parking or erecting stalls and other structures that may encroach on the road. Congestion on roads or public places such as markets has become a part of the everyday life in the Gambia. And the police, in partnership with the National Roads Authority and other stakeholders, are determined to put to an end what they say has been one of the major causes of accidents, especially within the Greater Banjul area. Superintendent Lamin Jai, spokesperson of the Gambia Police Force, explains further.
Most importantly, we want the general public to ensure that when we removed or when you are affected, you don't come back to this place, because if you do, there will be consequences, because we will prosecute people and there will be penalties attached to it. In fact, vehicles that we found wrongly parked or derelict vehicles will be removed and taken to another place. And if your vehicle have been affected, you will need to pay penalties or fines in order to be able to regain your vehicle.
The owners of these vehicles and stores are expected to pay fines and receive formal warning before the vehicles are returned to them. As is the case in all other regions, officers of the Brikama Area Council are with the operation team to issue notice to all shop, stall or vehicle owners in the West Coast region who have not been served at least 24 hours prior. One of the places where there is deemed to have been deep encroachment into the road, resulting in major traffic blocks in Brikama, is this garage at the main junction leading to Gunjur and other parts of the region. Bakari K. Mane, a senior official of the National Roads Authority, says pocket garages like this one are unlawful and must be removed.
Brikama, the main problem for traffic flow is this intersection here. This is Gunjur intersection, yeah? Because you see, we have only 2 lanes, and the 2 lane, this is no stopping. You cannot even stop rather than to park. So as you stop either alighting passengers or picking them, that's where you have this traffic build up unnecessarily. You know, then it goes up to the park there.
Meanwhile, Nuha Jabi, president of the General Transport Union in West Coast region, urged drivers in the region to comply and support officers of the Operation Clear the Streets to help make our traffic tenable to both drivers and commuters.
The message I have for them, they have to comply with the law, and they have to understand, as we the leaders of the union, we also understand that though it is not our intention to come and clear them here, but you know, we have to understand how the situation is, because you all have to promote the free movement. So this is why, you know, they have cleared here, but we will sit as team, as I tell you, and to find another solution so that they can go and continue their businesses.
Among those present at Monday's exercise are Omar Sise, president of the National Transport Union, Lamin Kinkoli, Commissioner of Police for Mobile Traffic, and senior officers of the NRA and Brikama Area Council. Meanwhile, some of the people we spoke to off-camera have welcomed the initiative. However, they expressed concern regarding the sustainability of this exercise. Some were skeptical, saying this was a PR exercise and that the chaos will return after a few months. Answane Sonyasi for Qtv News.
In other news, the KMC mayor in a press conference has revealed that an investigation by the council has discovered an alleged financial transaction fraud involving its CEO, who allegedly obtained a $12 million loan in the name of the staff association. QTV's Momodola Minchoy reports.
In a hall filled with members of the council and the press, the KMC mayor, Ahmed Taliban Suda, appears with updates on current issues featuring allegations against some of the highest officials of the council. The mayor states that an investigation by the KMC has uncovered that the council CEO, Senabu Martin Sonko, has been involved in a fraudulent multi-million dollars financial transaction.
Sometime in June of this year, my office intercepted financial transactions initiated and entered into by Mrs. Sonko. Following investigations with the related banks and parties, it was discovered that Mrs. Sonko entered into illegal transactions without lawful authority to the tune of $12 million. These illegal transactions were completed with the co-signature of the Director of Finance, Dr. Aliu Keta. It was discovered that Mrs. Sonko acquired a bank loan in the name of the Staff Welfare Association on behalf of 37 staff without their knowledge or consent. She used these funds to acquire a property which we believe to have been grossly overvalued, and she forged council documentation and approvals to obtain a guarantee purportedly from KMC to secure the loan.
A response to this alleged fraud has led to the KMC's decision to freeze and recover approximately $7.6 million from bank accounts. Believing and describing the alleged fraud as very serious, The mayor says this investigation and intervention has prevented the council and the public from incurring a serious financial loss.
The actions of Mrs. Sonko are very serious, and we believe they are criminal in nature, ranging from fraud, tax evasion, and theft. Mrs. Sonko was confronted in a directors' meeting of 12 July 2021, wherein she confessed to her actions and apologized to the management team of KMC. Although she has since recanted her position, we have proceeded to complete the investigations and table the matter before the council.
In a general meeting, councillors have come up with resolutions requesting the Local Government Service Commission to summarily dismiss the council's CEO and Director of Finance from service and agreed to report the matter to the Police Fraud Squad for further investigation.
We have also resolved to place Mrs. Sonko and the Director of Finance on indefinite leave pending the results of the investigation and the decision of the Local Government Service Commission. The actions of Mrs. Sonko are quite disappointing. Countless employees of council have expressed great disappointment in these actions.
In a separate matter, the mayor has also announced the resignation of his deputy, Musa Ba, which according to him was on personal grounds, including the death of his mother, and that Ba will continue serving his ward as a councillor. The former deputy mayor is also reportedly involved in a bribery scandal with a company. I asked the mayor about this allegation.
Now, as far as that allegation as well is concerned, as far as I know, my office knows, there has been no payments to that company in question except one, which was authenticated. So as far as the other allegations are concerned, we are yet to verify.
Upon the resignation of the deputy mayor, the general meeting of councillors of the KMC have elected its first ever female deputy mayor, Binta Jane Jallo, who is also the councillor for Bakau New Town Ward. The KMC mayor promises that the council will pursue the fraud scandal to the letter of the law to ensure that there is justice in the end. Mahmoud Lamin Choi, Qtv News.
We will now go for a short commercial break. When we return, we have more stories. Do stay tuned.
Today, any person who is above the age of 65 years is qualified to contest as president of this country. So it's not made for Usainu Dabo as people, and in fact the media sometimes, falsely project. After all, removing of the increase in the age of judges before they retire, what benefit is that to Usainu Dabo? Well, I mean, you take back prodigal sons, but when they are not prodigal sons, we don't take back home. See, politics, there must be this issue. That's what I was telling, I had earlier said, you do not look at a political advantage. If all of them were to come back and accept that, we are taking a political advantage. And they will be deviating from our principle. Have they been cured of the cancer that led us to exercise them?
State of Affairs, airing tonight.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. Now, as the Gambia prepares for December presidential election amidst an atmosphere filled with misinformation and disinformation, 30 selected journalists are undergoing a 3-day training on fact-checking. Ali Sisi has more.
The training started on Monday and is organized by UNESCO within the framework of the Peace Building Fund project entitled Young Women and Men as Stakeholders in Ensuring Peaceful Democratic Processes and Advocates for the Prevention of Violence and Hate Speech. It is a 2-year project jointly implemented by UNESCO, UNDP, and UNFPA in partnership with local implementing partners. Gambians will head to the polls in December to vote in the presidential election. Therefore, it is deemed critical to empower the media with tools, resources, and skills to counter the phenomenon of disinformation and misinformation that comes with such a process. The training is being delivered by Fact-Space West Africa of Ghana, the first full-time fact-checking platform in Ghana. Deputy Asif Usman Senghor, Secretary General of the Gambia National Commission for the UNESCO, Lamin Jaju, Senior Program Officer for UNESCO.com in the Gambia, believes such training will greatly help in debunking fake news as the high-stake election draws nearer.
recent developments have placed journalism under fire. An array of factors are transforming the communications landscape, raising questions about the quality, impact, and credibility of journalism.
Mohamed Esba, Vice President of the Gambia Press Union, recognizes the media's crucial role as watchdog in promoting credible elections. He sees fact-checking as paramount during election by debunking misinformation and disinformation.
Fact-checking is part of everyday journalism, but it is even more important that this culture of verification is entrenched during elections.
Lamin Jahate, UNESCO's project officer in the Gambia, outlined plans to organize more explicit fact-checking training for journalists in the Gambia. The International Fact-Checking Network, a global network of fact-checkers, is dedicated to bringing together fact-checkers worldwide. The network was launched in 2015 to support the booming crop of fact-checking initiatives by promoting best practices and exchange in this field. Bebas Osek is the president of the network, and he welcomes the training.
I thank you for organizing this gathering and this base to train new cohort of journalists in the Gambia to become the new front fighters of this fact-checking as an antidote against bad information. I recognize that the elections are around the corner and fact-checking in the Gambia will be receiving more scrutiny than ever.
On behalf of the UN Resident Coordinator, Seraphine Wakana, Patrick McCarthy, UN Peace and Development Advisor, emphasized that the capacity to effectively check facts is not only necessary but indispensable in 21st century journalism.
A number of studies from around the world have indicated that fake news could potentially impact who ultimately wins or loses an election. However, there are also amazing examples of how journalists and other actors in the information ecosystem have successfully countered false claims and propaganda, which, if left unchecked, could have seriously undermined the credibility of national elections.
This group of journalists are expected to be pacesetters of fact-checking in the country by countering fake news, which is a fast-growing challenge for journalists. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cisse.
Now in international news, Tunisia's president has suspended parliament and dismissed Prime Minister Hichem Mechichi in a move condemned as an attack on democracy by his rivals, but which others greeted with celebrations on the streets. Omar Pijalo tells us more.
Political escalation came after thousands of Tunisians defied COVID-19 restrictions and took to the street over the weekend in anti-government protests that turned violent. Supporters of Rachid Ghannouchi's moderate Islamist Ennahda party and supporters of President Said threw stones and bottles at each other outside the parliament on Monday. Said has previously threatened to resolve parliament and sack the prime minister to break through successive political impasses and overhaul a complex political system inundated by corruption. The most recent election delivered a fragmented chapter in which no party held more than a quarter of seats. Said, an independent without a party behind him, announced he was invoking an emergency article of Tunisia's constitution on Sunday night after a day of violent protests against the country's biggest party, Ennahda. Observers are already warning that his decision to invoke Article 80 of the Constitution, which allows the president to take exceptional measures in the event of imminent dangers threatening the institutions of the nation. Effectively, this grants total executive power for an unspecified period. The infighting has delayed important ministerial appointments and diverted time and resources away from tackling Tunisia's chronic social and economic problems. More than 18,000 people in the country of 12 million have died of coronavirus since the pandemic began, crippling the tourism industry, which makes up 16% of Tunisia's GDP for 2 years in a row. The crisis led to Tunisia's deepest depression since independence in 1956. It also saw its sovereign debt rating downgraded, posing further difficulties to acquiring loans to pull itself out of the crisis. Dozens of arrests were made as protesters called for the dissolution of parliament and early election in demonstration organized by a new group called the 25th July Movement. Police used tear gases to disperse crowds as people threw stones and tried to storm Ennahda's office in several towns. In Tozu, the party's local headquarters was set on fire. Overnight, the army surrounded the parliament and blocked the parliamentary speaker, Rachid Ghannouchi, from entering the building. The Speaker was among several lawmakers who insisted the Parliament would continue to work despite the President's move, holding an emergency session on Monday, which could be conducted online if necessary. In what appears to be a military-style televised address, Said cited concerns about violence as the reason for his decision to suspend Parliament and warned opponents not to resort to violence. He warned that anyone who think of resorting to weapons and whosoever shoots a bullet, the armed forces will respond with bullets. Rachid Ganuchi, the Speaker of Parliament, is among those calling the President's actions a kind of coup. Reporting for QTV News, I am Omar P. Jallo.
A goal in the header half proved to be enough for the Red Scorpions to close the gap on league leaders in Syria after a 2-0 win over City Girls at the late Usman Saho Field in Yundum. Momodo Gajaga reports.
2 similar goals scored, but by different players. From Khadija Tubayo, a powerful shot beat the keeper to give Red Scorpions a first-half lead. After beautiful passing play midway in the second half, Khadija Tujame fired in a shot to double her side's lead, eventually leading to a 2-0 victory. Red Scorpions, as defending champions, play without several key players due to suspension and injuries. Struggled to settle in the first half hour. They begin to control the game late in the first half. City Girls were often left chasing the ball, losing possession in crucial areas. Ajara Samba normally plays at the centre forward for the Red Scorpions, but played as a defender to cover for her injured teammate. She shares her experience of playing as a defender and the chances of beating Interior to the title.
To me, we got the 3 points, but the game was not impressive. But the most important thing is to win, because even winning 1-0, it's 3 points. We were expecting to score more goals, but unfortunately we were just able to have 2. So that was a wonderful game from my side, but we were expecting a better performance from us. Actually, that was not my wish, because it was due to some circumstances. That's why I started playing defense in 2018. But I was a striker and a powerful striker before. But unfortunately, due to missing some of our players, a key player for that matter, which was our captain, that made me to play defense. But due to my skills and then being very intelligent, mashallah, that make me to able defend. So right now I say that I am better in playing at the back than in the front even, because I am used to it now.
Gambia's Women's League was delayed after the 2020 edition was abruptly ended due to the coronavirus pandemic. Having declared no winners then, and with the current league yet to be concluded to decide on the winners, the country's clubs therefore missed out on the inaugural CAF Women's Champions League. The tournament is being held on a zonal basis, and the Gambian champions would have gone into the tournament in Cape Verde, which started on July the 23rd, and it's scheduled to end on July the 30th. Mamudu Gajaga, QTV News.
Before we close, here is a recap of our main headlines. The Gambia's only COVID-19 admission center is almost at full capacity and treating patients in serious condition as the COVID-19 third wave hits the country. The police on Monday commenced Operation Clear the Streets, aimed at removing vehicles and stalls parked or erected on our roads. The KMC mayor has revealed that an investigation by the council has discovered that the CEO allegedly fraudulently obtained a $12 million loan in the name of the staff association. In international news, Tunisia's president has suspended parliament and dismissed the prime minister in a move condemned by his rivals. In sports news, a goal in either half proved to be enough for the Red Scorpions to close the gap on league leaders Interior after a 2-0 win over City Girls. Well, that's it from me in today's Midday News. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.